Alright, I'm just messing up my camera. Kids are in there playing a racing game. Anyway, I have to redo this video because I did a video and I got off on a tangent. And it was cool. Like, it wasn't like bad, but the tangent took away from the video. So I'm like, I can't, it didn't make any sense. I was like, does this make sense? And it didn't tie in correctly. So I'm like, I'm just going to do it all over again. Make sure you join the Discord. It's going to be down in the description box below. Make sure you like, share, and definitely subscribe. So this is talking about the, one of the core issues that I've always talked about, and that is homes in Tacoma. Now, last year, Redfin, which I believe is based out of Seattle, I believe, Redfin did a study, and it said that Tacoma was the fastest selling market in the country for homes. The fastest selling. And I forget what number we were. I put it in my last video, but I'm thinking, I don't know if that's correct in terms of the average days that a home stays on the market. But this time I read it and whatnot, and it says that again, for the second year in a row in January, that Tacoma is the fastest market in terms of selling a home. That homes sell the fastest out of any other place. We beat all other cities. And these are big cities on that list. We beat them all. And that Seattle is kind of dipping on that list. Seattle is back here. Tacoma's way up front leading the pack. Why? Because of a couple of different influences. Sorry, you're going to hear the girls screaming. They get very competitive. They get that from me and their mama. They're going to get very competitive. But anyway, and these little zebra prints are their little beanbag chairs. The man cave is not truly the man cave. It's everybody's cave. I tell people that. But anyway. So, Tacoma has taken the pack again. And part of this is due to, obviously, it's super expensive to buy a house. If you want a city lifestyle and you want to be in a city environment, the only affordable option right now would be Tacoma. Now, of course, you can go to Olympia, but I don't really consider Olympia a city. It's kind of like Everett, right? It is a city. Somebody's offering money. Hold on a second, folks. Somebody's offering me money. So I gotta get to that. Show more. Hold on. When someone offers me money, then of course I gotta. Okay, had to take care of that. Anyway, so I'm sorry. I get distracted. It's another tangent. Anyhow, so they moved to Tacoma. It just makes a lot more sense for them in terms of just financials, all of that. The sickness has actually accelerated that because people can live in a much more affordable place, get much more house, much more land, cheaper taxes, cheaper everything, and still commute up every now and again if they need to Seattle or Bellevue or what have you, right? Bellevue is literally kind of out of the market for most people. Unless you got it like that, it is. And really all of east, when you look at Seattle and go east, all of that is kind of out of the reach for most. There are a few places, but generally it's just going to suck. I mean, it's kind of like there are people who can afford it, but it's similar to the way that I viewed Seattle when we bought this house. Could we have afforded it? Yes. But on the same token, I didn't want to be in such a cash crunch all the time or worried that if something happens, then I'm screwed. It's just not worth it. It's not that deep. So for me, it was more of being comfortable. And I think you have a lot of people that say, I want to be comfortable. I want to be able to live in a city, but also be able to have vacations and be able to, spend a little money here and there and not feel like a burden. And so that's why. The other thing is just the way that Seattle has been doing things. Now in Seattle and possibly even in King County, they're taxing people's salary. Now, what people may not know is in Washington, there's a sales tax, there's no income tax, and so that's one of the things that we love. There's no income tax. But they're skirting around that because now you're seeing that a little bit in Seattle, and the state's trying to consider doing something like that too. So who knows how long it's going to last. But right now it's up in Seattle based on if you make a certain amount of money. I think you have to make 150 grand or something like that or more, and you have a income tax. These kids. Hold on a second. I got to tell them. All right, I have to tell them, like, calm down. I get the passion because when I'm in there playing Brawlhalla, I get loud and it's funny. Anyway, so the taxing situation would impact a lot of people. And so it's good we didn't, take that, we didn't go there, right? Because that, you couple in the property tax, you couple in all the extra stuff, it's expensive. So it makes sense you have a lot of people who are up in Seattle who have been renting apartments for years and they're thinking, I'm going to get a house, and it's like, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. They're down here. And so they're using all of that pent up money that they have, where they've been saving and saving and saving and saving for these super expensive houses. And they're saying, you know what, throw it down here because that puts me into contention. Now I can buy houses for the price I would have paid 5-6 years ago in Seattle. That's how the prices are now down here, is what it was up in Seattle 5 or 6 years ago. So they're looking at that, or maybe longer, but they're looking at that and they're saying this makes better sense. You have a lot of people also who are buying homes that need to be fixed up. Never ever pass up on a house that needs to be fixed up unless it is bad. I mean, real bad. I've been into a home. I told the story. I went into a home and it was raining that day. And I always tell people, if you can, go, if you're looking for homes, go when it's raining in this area, because that tells you a lot. So we went into this house, Noelle and I, and the realtor, and the first thing we smelled was gas. And it was very strong. We had to leave the doors open because it was that bad. The guy that was selling the house came out and said, I'm about to leave now. You guys can take a look around or whatnot. And there's just a little bit of a gas leak, nothing bad. And so we went in there and it was burning our throats. We had to have the door open. It was bad. And supposedly he was sleeping there at night. We noticed that there was floor to ceiling curtains, these cream colored old Gotham looking curtains. And the house looked decent on the outside, not bad. Had a nice deck and everything. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is strange. And then when you go into the bedrooms, you didn't have that floor to ceiling curtains. You had it in the living room and you had it in the dining room. And I'm like, because they were kind of close together, and then there was the kitchen. I was like, that's strange. And so, we went outside to look at they had like it was an outside workshop kind of. It was covered, under a covered little thing. And then they had like an outside building. So we went out there to take a look at that and spent most of our time out there because we just needed the air. We go back in and Noelle's like, why is this curtain here? It's like kind of bunched up and bubbly. Literally, it was like they took the curtains off of like a convention center window, because it was literally as tall as the ceiling down. And then there was like a pile of curtain underneath. It was long. And so I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. And so she touched it, and water, like it was like you submerge a bath towel in a tub of water and you squeeze it a little bit and you hang it up and you squeeze it again and water comes out. That's what happened in her hand, and we could see it. And so I looked over at the realtor and she was like, and I'm like, what? And so she moves it back, and the whole floor right there where the curtain was covering was just a solid wet mass. You would step on the carpet and you would see water come up. Up at the ceiling, we happened to look up and there's a drip. By that curtain was just a stream of water that was just coming down. right? I kid you not. It was like if you turn the faucet down just a little bit and you have that little trickle. That's exactly what it was. Just streaming straight down. And the curtain was to kind of conceal it. But it was streaming down onto that floor, which is a wooden floor. The weird thing was, I noticed when we went down, because they had a basement. When we went down in the basement, I saw on the side of one of the walls, I could see wetness. Like the wood was wet, and the wall was damp. And I'm thinking, okay, well, it's a basement. They probably have something wrong with the little sump pump or something. But it makes sense. The water was coming, it was seeping through the floor all the way through down to the basement. That's how bad it was. And so I tell that story because if A, the gas gave it away, and that was like, ugh. But two, let's say that you were like, yeah, we can solve that gas issue, not a big deal. And then you buy the house, the roof is bad. The roof was shot. It looked okay. On the outside, you look up at the roof, it looked totally fine. But then on the inside, when you went in there, it was just shot. Like somewhere there was a problem. I don't know if he did the roof himself. I don't know. But it was bad. And so always, definitely, if you can, go whenever it's raining. Also, don't be disillusioned by the pretty. I talk to people who, in the industry, and yeah, there are people who are blinded by the pretty. It's remodeled and it's got all this stuff, but it's like I can hide. Me personally, I can hide a bunch of crap, and you would never know. You'd never know the wall is like rotting. You know what I mean? Like there's so many homes, especially in this area, where the walls are just shot, and you just put drywall up, and no one knows, right? They don't know until they have to either health issues or they have to do a remodel, and they realize like, oh, this is bad, or the house starts falling apart. They realize like, oh, this is worse than what I thought. So you have to be careful. But getting back on topic, because this tangent belongs in this situation versus the other video I did on this. One of the things, so one of the things that you really and truly have to consider too, in terms of the market and homes not staying on the market for super long, is also due to the fact that you have other people from other places moving here. So you have the burden of people from Seattle. I don't want to say burden, but you have people from Seattle and other places up north moving down south. And then you have people from other parts of the country who are forgoing Seattle, and they realize, oh, Tacoma's an option. Some people know of Tacoma because they know of the Narrows Bridge, and they know of the Tacoma Dome, or they know of certain things, and they know of the name Tacoma. But they don't know that it's that close to Seattle. They don't realize that. And so now, as the city becomes a little more popular, and you have people like myself that do blogs on it, more people are becoming aware of Tacoma, and they're like, that could be a viable option. It's not super far from Seattle. It's not super far from Olympia. It's not super far from the coast. So why not? You have a lot of people moving in here too, and so that doesn't help the housing situation either. The other thing, and there's been stories about this, of people who are from here, who are born and raised, and for whatever reason, they didn't buy a house at the time. And so now they want to buy a house. Maybe they've been living in apartments for a long time, and they want to buy a house, and they can't because they can't afford it. So those people are being pushed farther and farther and farther out. One of the big topics is gentrification here. That's one of the big topics that you will hear quite often, or at least I hear often. And it's because that is something people are very aware of. And it's not just people moving into an area, it's sometimes businesses moving into certain areas, creating that issue. And some people will say, well, what's the big deal? The big deal is that you have a lot of people who really made Tacoma what it was, that stuck around when Tacoma was in its bad phase, when things were really bad here. And they stayed, and they helped make the city better. And now those people are being pushed out because of affordability. And so you have a lot of, and even businesses that have been here for a long time are being pushed out because they can't afford it, or maybe their clientele has drastically changed. So it is a concern, but you're seeing this escalate quite a bit. And along with the fact that the city only has houses on the market on an average of 4 days now, that doesn't mean that that is 4 days and it's gone. Some houses are gone as soon as they're put onto the listing, right? There was a guy that was talking about, he's a realtor, put a house on the market, and at the end of the day, it had like, over 200 inquiries. 200 inquiries on one house. And so it a house could stay on the market for 4 days. It could stay on the market for 7 days, but it could also be on the market for just a couple of hours, and you already have people that are looking for it. So it is a very fast selling market. It's the top in the country again for another year. And I don't think that's actually going to change anytime soon. Home prices are going up. I looked today because I get notifications, and our home value here, this home went up 21%. Now, I did a video talking about home values not long ago, and that I said that there's a realtor friend I know that said that, if we hit that 20% mark, that on average, because our house is not necessarily on average, right? But if we hit that 20% mark on average, because I think right at this point it's at 15%, the values increased 15% this year versus last year. I can't remember exactly now, but he was saying that if we hit that 20%, that then homes are going to hit that 500,000 mark, because right now they're below that, but they're getting close to that 500,000 mark if they get to that, if we stay at 20%, or if we get to 20% and we stay there. This house here got to 21% in terms of this year versus last year in terms of a price increase. And so different areas in the city are going to be higher, lower, whatever the case may be. It just depends. But it goes back to say that the amount of interest in terms of people looking is still there, and it's growing. The amount of supply is less, because a lot of people, I know of a few people who want to sell their homes, but they're like, we would sell ours too. But the problem is, where would you go? Like, we'd be in that situation of trying to hunt for houses along with a large group of people, and you're dealing with such few houses that are actually out there that it's just not worth it. So a lot of people who are looking to get maybe a bigger house or a different location, and people did that in the past, they can't do it now because they may end up with nothing or far out from the city. And so a lot of folks are just not taking that risk, because where would you go? And that's all over the city, all price points. So from the houses that are, in the far northwest to the far southeast to the far southwest, far northeast, all of those areas, people are not really wanting to sell because they know that they're going to be put into a situation where they can't really get anything. So it doesn't surprise me that we're there for another year. I don't see it changing. I think if anything, it's going to escalate. Keep in mind, we're not even in spring yet. Summer is when it becomes really hot in terms of the housing market. Very, very hot. There are folks who are saying they want to move here this year. If you want to move here this year, sometime in the summer or whatever, now is definitely the time to look, because the spring is when things really start to escalate, just naturally anyway. And there's news that maybe the sickness will have people who, my age, younger, and whatever, a little older, are able to get the vaccine. That's really going to make the housing market situation even worse. There's a lot of people that are not even looking. You have a lot of people who are doing the 3D. A lot of realtors are like, let's do a whole 3D tour of a house. So many people are looking at those because they can be in the safety of their home and they can take a look. That has jumped dramatically, right? Versus just pictures that, you don't know how the realtor took the picture. They can make a place look really good just based on angles. But those 3D images are really cool because you can actually see the home. Some walk through the home, give you a tour. Those are great. Now that there could be a change in terms of how the sickness is and people getting vaccines, you're going to have more and more people who step foot in those places and actually pull the trigger at that point of, yeah, I want to get this home. So it's going to only increase The values are going to definitely start to continue to increase. Will it hold at 20% on average for the whole city in terms of price increases? We don't know yet. We don't know yet. It may be lower, it may be higher, but it's definitely a possibility. We're at 21, I think. It's 20 point something. So, which is great for me. I like it. On average, what the city will be, don't know. Anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you join the Discord, which is going to be down in the description box below. Make sure you leave a comment. Until next time, I will see you. Take care.